Welcome to Family Peace Initiative's Curriculum Blips. In this podcast, we provide fast and easy resources for facilitators using the FPI suite of curricula to help you prepare before stepping into a group room. Whether you're brand new to BIP facilitation or using drive time to refresh yourself on familiar concepts, these blips are intended to help you get in the right frame of mind as you head into group. You'll hear from seasoned staff and FPI curricula authors on the key concepts and goals of each lesson, as well as what to expect from group members in these conversations. Today we're starting Section 8 on battering motive. Steve Halley, co-founder and co-director of the Family Peace Initiative, walks us through the first week in this section on entitlement-based and sadistic-based battering. Let's hear from Steve.
Welcome to Section 8. You've made it this far in the curriculum, and now we're diving into Dorothy's work over her career about battering motive. This is a really important section for the group participants to kind of get their minds around, to participate in and recognize how their beliefs are driving their abusive behavior, and that everyone in your group room, right there, that not everyone is battering from the same motivation. That some are very entitled in their perspective, others are very desperate and dependent in their abusive behavior, and then there might be some in your room who just really enjoy harming somebody else, much more sadistic. And if we treat everybody as if they're all the same, then we really are kind of promoting ourselves to be ineffective with the work in the room. Helping people to recognize their own situation, right? Whether it's survival-based, entitlement-based, materially motivated, whether it's a survival-based type 2, much more the narcissistic type, helping people to see their own beliefs and what's driving their behavior informs them on the safety planning, informs them on the transformational change process. So we want to just talk through this just a little bit so that you kind of are prepared when you walk into the room. I love staging this section with imagining people going to a house of worship, whether that's a church or a synagogue or wherever it is, right? People are gathering and they're doing the same thing. They're all praying, they're singing, they're participating in the service, and it looks as if everybody is there for the same reason. But if you get underneath the surface just a little bit, right, you can see, some people are there because they're expected to be there by their families or their communities. Some people are there because they want to be seen, as it contributes to their status, their image in the community. Others are there because they love to sing, or maybe they just love to make social connections with people, and that house of worship is the place to do it. So what's happening is that people are doing the same thing, but they're doing it for different motives. And the same is true for domestic violence. 3 people can punch their partner. 3 people can call their partner names. 3 people can do the same abusive behavior, but can be doing it for entirely different motives. And so if you're just focusing on the behavior, then you're missing that level down, the next step down the staircase of helping people to recognize what drove my behavior. And that motivation is really where transformational change lies. And so we start the section by really just focusing on entitlement, and we also include sadistic. One, because entitlement is really the most commonly thought of motivation for those who matter. You're just entitled. You get to make the rules my way or the highway. My needs come first. You do what I say. I have the right to punish you. All these kind of beliefs that show up with those people who are abusive from an entitlement perspective. And quite honestly, the programs for years throughout the country have been focused on that kind of driver. In fact, they kind of thought that was the only driver for domestic violence was entitlement. And so we want to start there. And, you can be using the motive checklist that's on page 43 of the workbook. The checklist really helps your group participants to start recognizing the beliefs that they might have. And you can look at the entitlement-based beliefs that are down there. I make all the decisions. My needs come first. I believe I have the right to be violent if I don't get my way. There's double standards in the relationship. And we want people in this motive checklist to just circle the beliefs that sound familiar to them and add any others that, maybe not on the list, but that resonate for them. And so we're working very hard to try to help people recognize the beliefs that they have and how it contributes to their abusive behavior. And so in this section, we also talk about the sadistic motive, which is really about, being cruel to people because of the pleasure of either the fantasy of harming somebody or the pleasure of owning somebody, mind, body, and soul. Now, I want you to know that very few people will really acknowledge being sadistic in the room. That's something that, generally speaking, people who are sadistic are expert at hiding, and they're not really commonly open to talking about, oh yeah, I planned and plotted and had sophisticated fantasies for years before I ever implemented a plan. But definitely the hallmark of the sadistic is the planning and the fantasy. And so if we understand that, all different motives can do things that are horrible, right? That look sadistic, right? But it's kind of in the context of the relationship, what's going on, that helps us to identify the people who are sadistic. And many people who are violent because the rules were broken or violent because they thought their partner was leaving. And that's not this long-term planning and fantasizing. It's reacting to a situation in the moment. And that is the big difference. And so we touch on the sadistic, and you might show in the Voices from the River video, you might show the entitlement video and the sadistic video in this class so that people can kind of hear how those who completed our program talk about this. But understand that there's probably very few people in your room who are sadistic. And at any one time, it wouldn't be surprising if there's nobody there that's sadistic. And the other challenge is that you probably had people in your classes that are sadistic who you didn't even recognize them as sadistic because they're just so good at keeping that secret, keeping that private. And so what we're after in this first class is just to argue that, there's different motivations, and different motivations have different beliefs driving their behavior. And we're just starting section 1 with the motives of entitlement-based and sadistic-based. And you might find people recoiling, from the idea that, oh my gosh, I wouldn't want to be sadistic. Those people are really creepy. You also will have people who will look back at their behavior and go, oh gosh, I think I was kind of sadistic because I did get some satisfaction out of harming my partner. Well, that's not the same thing. Right? It might be that somebody planned for a day to go, oh, I'm going to get revenge and get this person back or whatever, or go do this. But the sadistic people are planning and plotting over a length of time, right? This fantasy is living in their minds for a length of time. It could be years from the time they enter into a relationship until the time they actually implement a plan and start activating their sadistic behavior. While many people in your room might think that they have sadistic behavior, when you ask them, well, how long did you plan this? Were you plotting this? How long did you fantasize over this? They go, oh, no, I didn't really do it that way. It was just I got this enjoyment out of getting her back. Well, revenge is not necessarily in the sadistic category. It's almost the eroticism of the fantasy, the pleasure out of imagining causing great harm to somebody, and then trying out the plan, trying out the fantasy. So in the first section, that's what you're doing. You're just talking about entitlement, and you're talking about sadistic behavior, and you're letting people understand that there's different motives, and the way to be able to recognize that is what beliefs are driving the behavior, and what is the relationship to me, right? Is my relationship just these people are supposed to serve me? Or is this my relationship, my partner, just an object who's going to give me pleasure that I can act out my fantasies with, and I'm not really concerned about them as a person? They're just a tool for me to gain pleasure for myself. We'll talk about the survival-based in the next blip that comes up. Good luck with this. Thanks for listening to the blips, and we'll bring you the next section of battering motive here in the blip that's coming up.
Thanks for preparing for your group with us today. If you have questions, stucks, or if there's a section of the curriculum you'd like to hear us explore in more detail, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at reception@familypeaceinitiative.com or submit a contact form on our website. Family Peace Initiative. working to serve our clients and community with compassion, integrity, and expertise.